little cloud. Okay. Um, Hello everybody. This is a random live that I'm doing on Facebook. Slash it'll also be recorded. It will also be recorded for a podcast. It's a solo Mal again. So I was like, you know what? I might as well go live. I will do a live chat. I haven't done a live chat in forever. And there's a lot I want to chat about. So it's perfect to do this. So if you are watching or listening for the first time, this is Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. If you are watching on Facebook Live, you can ask me questions. I think if I will try to like stay up to date and get it. So if I'm looking down, I'm looking down at my phone for to look at the topics I'm going to talk about, as well as to see if there are any oh ew, I don't like how it's doing that. Or if there's any like what you calls it, questions anybody has. But I also have like different things that I'll be talking about, different topics, and I want to make sure that I hit them all and I do the whole thing, or I read the little prompts, everything. So that's why if I look down, that's what I'm doing. So if this is your first time, or you're like, oh, what is this? This is Those Other Girls with Mallory Friends. Like I literally just said, sorry about that. And this is a podcast brand, whatever you want to call it, where we talk about life, relationships, pop culture, career, everything from a Christian conservative perspective. And we are not just talking about culture, but we are working to change culture. We are doing, those of us who are other girls, we are doing things actively in our daily lives to help change culture. Small things from just, praying for our friends and family, all the way to going and doing things with our local politics. So yeah, that's what Those Are the Girls is. If you are a Christian conservative woman, this podcast is 110% for you. If you're not Christian, if you're not conservative, and you're not a woman, you can totally listen to this podcast. I don't know how much you'll relate to, but you are totally more than welcome to listen to this podcast. And I encourage you, if you aren't a Christian conservative woman, to listen anyway, just to hear a different perspective. That's one of the things I really wanted to do with this podcast, with all of this, is to just give a different perspective that people don't normally hear. Because people, the way the world is, there's a lot of just this side talking, this side doing all the talking, and none from this side. If you're listening, I'm like waving my left hand and then waving my right hand, and all you really hear is just the left side. So we really, myself and everybody else on the team, really wants to give that alternative for you to hear, for you to share with your friends, just so you can know. And I guess that will lead to our first topic for the day, is about like Christian conservative. What exactly does that mean? Okay. If today is Sunday, July 18th, 2021, if you were on Twitter, social media, Instagram, anything within the last 24 hours, you have seen what happened at a very famous student action summit. This conversation is not about that. I have tons of opinions, but I do want to, before, obviously I make like this big, huge about it, I would like to hear from the leaders of that, because it could have totally been a misunderstanding, the incident that happened. That's completely possible. And you know what? I would like to give it the benefit of the doubt that it was. I know some people that do stuff with that organization, and I know that they are, like, I know their hearts, or at least I think I know their hearts. So I just really want to hear more of it before I discuss opinion on the organization. I want to talk about something that is not necessarily the organization, but like people within the Christian, or people within the conservative movement. I want to talk about that. So, the incident of the porn star. I hope this doesn't you know how Facebook and all of them get like weird. The adult star. I'll just say it like that. The adult star. I hope like it doesn't, because I'm gonna put it on YouTube as well. I hope nothing gets like flashed or anything like that. Anyway, I doubt it because it's not big enough yet. But you hear, like, I listen to some of these other like bigger people, and they always talk about like, you said the wrong thing and they take you down, blah blah blah, and I don't want that to happen. But that's the person I want to talk about is the adult performer at this summit. And I want to talk about that aspect of it. We'll talk about the summit maybe another episode once we get more information. Once again, I don't want to make any big claims or anything like that until we get more information from the people who put it together. But we can discuss. It is 110% possible to discuss what happened from the observer's perspective, from those that attended the summit, from those that are, in the conservative movement. So first of all, the word conservative gets thrown around more than I think it should. The word conservative is being used in a way that I don't think is appropriate, I guess, is a way to say that. Let's look up the definition of conservative really quick. I should have done this before, but I'm doing this now. This is a live chat with Mal, so, any and everything is happening. I have my tea mug cup thing too, so I might spill some tea if I have some extra information. But let's look up the definition of conservative. What does, I'm typing it out. What does conservative mean? Okay, so according to the Oxford Language Dictionary.com, conservative as an adjective in a political context means favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. Whoa, one of the similar words is reactionary. That's interesting. Another one is ultra-right and traditionalist, alt-right and true blue. That's very interesting, but that's not what we're talking about today. So favoring free enterprise. Well, let's go back. So the adult star was at this conference. Thankfully, they had their ticket revoked and they had to leave. That's a good thing. Two things I want to say. I've seen a lot of people say, well, so-and-so is for free speech. Well, then they're blah, blah, blah. Okay, if you own something, you can do whatever. Like, that's one thing I just will never understand. If you own something, you can do whatever you want with that. For, if I owned X, Y, and Z, and for example, I'll be honest with you, if, those are the girls that are having bigger conferences. Someone who was actively in the adult film industry would not be invited if you're actively unapologetic about it. Now, if you had done it previously and God had turned your life around, because I 110% believe in that. I believe that God can change anyone's heart. But if you are still in it unapologetically, I mean, we wouldn't extend an invitation to you. You wouldn't be allowed to attend, speak, or be a part of it. That's just not, we're a Christian conservative, and the adult industry is not supporting being actively involved in it. Does not fit our values. Does not fit the things that we have said that we believe in. So yeah. So okay, definition. Let's read the definition again, because definitions are important. I think especially as being conservative and on the right, definitions are important. It is favoring free enterprise. I don't know this woman at all, but from everything that, so obviously, because I was so disturbed, I went down a long not that long of a rabbit hole, but I was like on her Instagram page or on her Twitter page, which I do not suggest you go to. Her pinned tweet is a very inappropriate, like showing things that she should not be showing picture, which is so strange to me. I reported it, but Twitter don't care. and I report anything like that in a heartbeat. Like, I'm unapologetic about that. Certainly did. But you know, Twitter doesn't care about that stuff. But anyway, so the pinned tweet is that. So I would not suggest going to her Twitter page, especially if you are a man. I do not suggest that. I was not prepared for that. But anywho, so her Twitter page. So I went down looked at her feed, looked at her little bio, and on her bio, y'all, she says, let me just go ahead and I want to read it out to you. And then I want to go back to the definition of what conservative is. Her bio says, I'm that conservative porn star who writes for the Federalists. Now, the Federalists, we'll get to that later, but that conservative porn star. Now, when I hear people talk about people grifting, this, I feel like, is textbook definition of grifting. Let's read the definition of conservative one last time. Well, one more time, probably won't be the last. In a political context, favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. That last part is what I want to talk about. I have no doubt she is in favor of free enterprise. If you are involved in that industry, you want to have capitalism. Like, it benefits you. That I am pro-capitalism, but I'm not going to lie and say that it has no flaws. This is the flaw of capitalism. When you allow, when you say anything goes, and this is the result of it. So, like I was saying, I have no doubt she's free enterprise. I have no doubt she's for private ownership either. It's interesting that these are the two but I guess these are just the most broad for like all of the things that conservatives say that they believe. I guess these three categories are the most way to encompass all of them broadly. Private ownership, I have no doubt. I wouldn't be surprised if she carries. It would not surprise me at all. Socially traditional ideas. Now let's look up socially traditional ideas. What does that mean? What are socially traditional ideas? Okay, let's see here. Okay, these are, I just kind of wanted like like a tiny little list or whatever, but let's see here. I just wanted like a list, but whatever. Let's see. There's just like a list somewhere. Wikipedia, people don't like using Wikipedia anyway. Let's see here. What are social conservative issues? Wow, all of these responses are under Wikipedia. What is meant by social conservative? What are traditional Wikipedia traditional family values? Wow, that's interesting. I've never really looked up the definition because we know it. That's the other thing too. We know what is socially conservative. Like, this isn't something that we are not aware of. We know what's socially conservative. It's literally just a matter of let's see here. It's just a matter of changing the definition. And, okay, whatever. Okay, so here, I hate that this is from Wikipedia, which I think also says a little bit of something too, that it's kind of hard to find the actual definitions. That's kind of a little one that I don't know. I just feel like it's very interesting. So sociologist Harry F. Doms suggested that social conservatism relates to a commitment to traditional values concerned with family structure, sexual relations, patriotism, gun ownership, and military invasions, describing Christian doctrinal conservatives and gun use conservatives as two domains of ideology within. Social conservatives also value the rights of religious institutions to participate in the public sphere, thus supporting government, religious endorsement, and opposing state atheism. Fair. All right, so I really hate that that's the definitions they give us, but we all know what is traditional, socially traditional ideas, and we know that participating in pornography is not. Pornography is one of the things that has ruined our society, the access and accessibility to the easy accessibility to pornography. It helps fuel human trafficking. It helps with abortion. Like, it is not, it's just not it's not okay. And I am genuinely kind of shocked that there is someone who would say that that is a conservative idea, I guess. That's odd to me. So here's something that I'm not doing. I'm not bashing her. This is her life. She chooses to live. That's fine. What I'm talking about is the term conservative, and the belief, this specifically is not a conservative value. I don't want to be one of those people that gatekeeps the name conservative. I hate that. Like, I mean, and here's the other thing too. I'm sure there's things that I believe that technically wouldn't be considered conservative. Honestly, at this point in my life, I can't think of anything right now, but I'm sure there's something. Like, I'm a human. I'm sure there's something that I believe that people would be like, that's not really traditionally conservative, Mallory. But I can't think of anything at this point. But I can say this, like, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to be the gatekeeper. I don't necessarily think that's right, to be the gatekeeper of like what's conservative and what's not conservative. I don't want to be the person who is like telling people they're not conservative enough. If you don't believe this one thing, you're not conservative. But I think I can make a safe, educated guess that if you are a part of the adult film industry, it's not just this one thing that you disagree with, or this one thing that you don't believe that is conservatism. Yeah. Now, to be a Republican. Let's look up the definition of Republican. What does Republican mean? All right. As a noun. Oh. It says a person advocating or supporting Republican government, a member or supporter of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is also referred to as the GOP. It's one of the two major political parties. Let's see. I hate that, like, the definition is one who favors or supports a Republican form of government. Anyway, definitions is something that's important, and I think the fact that we are having a hard time trying to find the concrete and good definition kind of explains where the disconnect lies. So I think this is just a good example of, okay, I get it. If there's no real definition, if there's no real consensus on what X means, I guess it makes sense that people can just kind of say any and everything and let that be that. There's a lot of understood things. It's understood that if you're a conservative, that you should be for traditional values. That's understood, but that's not what we see as much anymore. To be Republican, you can believe anything as a Republican. I don't think it's that wild and out there for you to believe in X, Y, and Z, for you to disagree in a lot of the things as a Republican. You can, if you voted for Donald Trump brought over, I mean, a myriad of people. I can't explain how many people he brought over. There's so many people who he brought over, and you can call yourself a Republican. I think ideology-wise, though, there's a lot of people who vote Republican, that call themselves Republican, that probably have more libertarian views. And I would say that's the same with Caitlyn Jenner. And honestly, Tomi Lahren. I would say they are more libertarian, which is fine. If that's if that's how they're choosing to live their life, and that's how they're choosing to live their life. The problem is when they start using the word conservative. People are using conservative and Republican interchangeably, and that's not the case. And I think it gets frustrating for those of us that are conservative when we hear different things. And once again, I don't want to come off as if I'm bashing this woman. I don't know her. I don't know her heart. If I'm gonna bash anything, it's her profession. Once again, unashamedly, because it's absolutely wrong and it is hurting our society. It is hurting our men. That is a problem. This is one of the main reasons why we have such a strong problem in our society. There's a problem in the church, but I'll get to that. That's in a couple of minutes. I'll get to that. But I'm not bashing this woman. Don't know her. Don't know much about her. From her Twitter, I can kind of sort of pick up on the type of person she is. We probably wouldn't be friends. But what I can say is that this is not conservatism. And one thing that concerned me about this whole situation is that people recognized her. And then when I was on her Twitter going, reading some of the tweets and like trying to figure out like what the heck is going on, she said someone made a comment and she said, the majority of my audience is conservative. So that's disturbing. But I also think that has a lot to do with people who are saying that they're conservative, they're actually libertarian. So I think that is a percentage of that. And, the conference is for people right of center, which is, once again, it's fine if that's how they want to do it. A conference people right of center, that's how they choose to do it. So there's obviously going to be people who you disagree with. I don't think there's anything like inherently wrong with being around people who you disagree with. What I do think is wrong is this is something like sexualized. This type of thing is not something that I think you should play with, especially because there's minors. I've been to some of these conferences and there are kids there, and it's very disturbing to me that this person was walking around. I'm not saying that, once again, I don't necessarily know if she has I'm not going to pedophilic. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not, and I know that's what a lot of people are implying. I don't know her. I don't know enough about her, what her motives were to say that. I think that's a big thing to say about someone. So I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say, because, the reality is here's the thing. This is, I think is the problem with the word conservative and everybody using the word conservative. She genuinely probably thinks that she is within this frame of work, I guess. Okay, what do I mean by that? She probably does consider herself a conservative, which is, I don't want to say it's fine because that's not the definition of concern. But I also don't want to, because I don't want to gatekeep. I don't want to be the person saying, well, you're not a conservative because you're X, Y, and Z. You can't sit with us. That's not who I am. That's not what I want to be. But I just want to go by the definition of like what something is, like the truth. And there's not a my truth and your truth. There is the truth. If you are, okay, so pulling another aspect in, if you are a Christian, you believe that there is a truth. There is the truth, not your truth, my truth, the truth. So the truth is a conservative is favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas, and participating in those type of acts willingly, unashamedly. That's probably a better, unapologetically, because that, from her Twitter, that is exactly what I got from it. Unapologetically. Participating in that does not make you a conservative. Sure, I'm sure she likes capitalism. I have no doubt she probably cares. She probably needs to. That is a very dangerous profession. Very dangerous for many reasons. But I mean, that's just not conservative. And the fact that people recognize her, I think it's just I think that's a problem in and of itself. I mean, to have that many, that, to me, that's crazy. And according to Elijah Schaefer, who has a podcast, I think it's like Slightly Offensive, something like that. He has a podcast. I listen to it occasionally. I like when he has people on to debate. That I find very interesting. according to him on his Twitter, he said that this person applied under a different name. So then they didn't know. But then, I saw the badge. Someone pointed out to me because I said that. And I was like, okay, it makes me feel a little bit better. But then someone said, well, the badge has her stage name. So I was like, ooh, yikes. But my point is, this person showed up at this event. People recognized her. And a good chunk of her base is conservative. That is a problem. So before I hopped on, I looked up some statistics. According to a survey, 2/3 of Christian men watch porn monthly. That is terrifying as a single woman. There is a website called fightthenewdrug.com that everybody should go to if you are struggling with pornography. It has a lot of really good statistics. That's not where I got this from. I got this from the Gospel Coalition, I believe. I'll link it somewhere. There is, if you want to fix this addiction, there is help for you. Also, this is interesting. According to Pornhub, the states with the longest time spent per visit on the site, listen to this, are Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana, Tennessee, Missouri, West Virginia, Indiana, and the non-state, that's what it says, the District of Columbia. Concerning. Very concerning. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to come off harsh or judgmental. This is just something that I feel like I should say. Ladies, and I'm saying this to myself too, just to remind myself, porn is no joke. An addiction to porn can ruin your marriage if your spouse is, or a lover, or whoever that you are in a relationship with is watching porn. They're essentially saying that you're not enough. That's awful. 2 things. If someone wants to stop, and we offer them grace and, and help, because it is a serious thing. Ladies, do some research on it. It is a serious, serious thing. And it's insulting. It's insulting. It's awful. So if someone, is struggling with that, offer them grace and help them if you can. If someone's unapologetically watching it and does not care, run as fast as you can, because it's not, it's very serious. It's not something to joke around with. I mean, some of the most watched porns are abusive ones where men are hitting women, incest, barely legal, things like that, like rape fantasies, those type of things are those are like the most watched. It is not, I'm not saying that if, your husband or your friend or your boyfriend or whatever is struggling with it, I'm not saying that that's what he's watching. I'm just saying, like, these things escalate and this is not good. Like, this is not okay. This is something that we really, in the church, we cannot keep letting, oh, well, he says he's sorry. That is a problem that I think, and John Cooper talks about this when he was on Alicia Schiller's podcast, and he kind of sort of touched, sorry, that was a sneeze. He kind of sort of touched on this. We can't just go, oh, that's sad. I'm sorry he does that. We can't keep doing that. We have to start being like, you know what, this is a problem. You need help. And let's help you. We love you. Let's help you. Instead of, Well, that's gosh. Or not even saying anything. Like, we cannot continue to do that. Because it is hurting people. It is, and this little thing can escalate and it can seep into other things. This is not a joke. This is not something that is like, not something you should be playing around with. And you'd be surprised how many men in your church, I'm not talking secular men, as what is it? Sinners are going to sin. Secular people are going to secular. That's fine. Or whatever. I'm talking about the people in your church. And as a single woman, that makes it scary for me personally because I, if someone's struggling but they're getting help, pray for that. I would have to pray to God to offer me grace. That I've had experiences with people who have been addicted, and that's a whole other conversation. And I personally don't want. I'd rather someone to have already overcome that addiction, but it's all up to God. God's grace is enough. I'm not perfect. That person's not perfect. Anyway, my whole point being, like, this is concerning. This is something that we have got to stop. Like, oh, well, gosh, he's doing that. Oops. No, we need men. And the thing is, like, it's not a thing that we women can fix. If you have a significant other, you should not be their accountability partner as a woman. Like, this isn't an issue the woman should be dealing with. We should be dealing with things for ourselves. For example, modesty. And I know there's this whole big thing about modesty or whatever, but like there are certain things that are modest and there's certain things that are not. And it's right there in the Bible. Like, there's things that we can work on ourselves that I don't really want to get into this moment, but there's things we can work on ourselves as women. But this issue is the issue with men. Now, do women struggle with porn? Yes. But I will say, I don't know the statistic. I need to find it. But most of the women that do struggle with porn, it is because they were introduced to it by a partner. But that's a whole nother conversation. But we're talking about men addicted to porn right now. That's the focus. So, like, this is something the men need to be in charge. This is something that your leaders in your church, the youth leader, the young adult leader, whoever, some sort of leader in your church should be dealing with the young men in your church about. This is what, when they split us up and talk to us about, our bodies and like, oh, women, you are the apple of God's eye, Proverbs 31, crown of glory, whatever. The men, they should be talking to the men about, what, this is a problem. And honestly, like, they should just be honest and real and open about it, because I want to say statistically, it's like a child has seen their first pornographic whatnot by like 12, a boy by like 12. I want to say it could be even younger, but I know for sure by 12. A couple years ago it was definitely 12. I want to say I read somewhere at this point in like 2021 it's 8, but I don't want to say that without having any, like, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I do know by 12. I believe it was 2016 when I took a human trafficking course. It was by 12 that more than 50% of boys have seen their first pornographic something or another. So that's something that is concerning. So that is, and because it's so not that big of a deal in our culture, some people don't know how big I've had conversations with friends before that are kind of new to the faith and didn't even really know it was that big of a deal. They knew that, like, oh, it was wrong, but they didn't realize like how, like, awful and how much we should reject it at all parts. And I can admit I need to do some things better. Sometimes some of the music I listen to is not necessarily promoting a non sexualized culture. I can admit that. For example, Britney Spears. I like the pop, and I can admit some of the songs, and I have been convicted on that. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't listen to this particular song. This song is probably not glorifying God in the best way. Okay, I thought I had a comment or something. So yeah, this is something that we need to fix, something that we as the church need to figure out what is the best course of action. Because to be honest, I feel like I have not seen anything. I could just be wrong. I could just be not be in the right churches or the right church environment. But I feel like there's someone I'm not really seeing much action. I'm not really seeing people like trying to fix or like trying to be like, you know what, maybe maybe we're not doing something right. I don't see a lot of that. And I think there needs to be that. I think there needs to be more men that are accountable. I think more men need to stand up. And you know what? I feel like I'm coming off very harsh, and I don't mean to come off harsh. I really don't. I think that if you are struggling with this, I really want you to get help, and I want you to feel comfortable. Here's the other problem too, and I think Elijah Schaefer said this on his podcast, or I heard someone say this. Like the other problem that we have on the right, so on the left, a problem that they have, for example, with this particular issue. I don't think he was talking about this particular issue, but the sentiment is still there on this for this specific issue. On the left, it's kind of like laissez faire, like do whatever you want. Who cares? Like, yeah, free, whatever. Yeah, la la la. And then on the right, it's like, oh my God, you're disgusting. Oh, you're evil and you're a degenerate. Oh gosh, hang her at the stake. Which I did see a lot of that, and I don't think that's okay. I don't think you should. You're a disgusting human being. And I saw people say she was going to go to hell, this, and that. And that's a whole conversation for another time. But I don't think that's appropriate either. And when we do that on the right, people feel shame, which I do think you should feel like shame. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing in the sense that it causes you to want to be better. So I think, someone feeling shame isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think feeling too much shame does not allow you to want to do better. It does not allow you to want to it doesn't allow you to want to get help. So I think that we should be trying to encourage people to get help. I think we should be trying to encourage people to want to be better. And if we encourage them to want to be better, we are also encouraging them to be able to get the help that they need, because no one knows to help you with your addiction until you say something about it, because people don't. Here's another thing too. If you're in Christian circles, you're probably not telling too many people that are Christian. The people that are in Christian circles that are struggling with this, they're probably talking about it with their secular friends and hee and ha, and they're all excited about it, like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But when you get into your Christian circle, you're probably very quiet about it, and you don't know that your two other brothers in your Christian circle, are struggling too, because you guys don't talk about it amongst yourselves, because you do realize that there is something wrong with it. So I think that we should be opening up a time for people to discuss that, to be able to say, hey, you know what? I am struggling with this. I realize this is wrong. Please help me. But at the same time, I don't think we should just like, oh, are you, brother? Oh, I'll pray for you. And move. I think that's what we're doing right now. I could be totally off base. I could just not be in the areas where people are working harder at that. But I feel like I just don't see it. And I think that's something we definitely can do better at. So all this to say, my biggest takeaway from this whole thing was that someone recognized her, and enough people recognized her to take pictures with her. Enough people recognized her to make us think about it, that it became viral on Twitter. Well, maybe not viral. It became viral on Twitter within the conservative bubble. Enough people recognized her for that. That I think is concerning. And then the fact that she said a good chunk of her base is conservative. That's concerning. And I'm going to close this portion on this. I think I'm just going to make this will be like a separate video in and of itself. But I'm going to close it on this. I forgot what I was going to say. I know what I'm going to say. Those Other Girls is a Christian conservative organization. So there is no confusion when it comes to Those Other Girls, things that have Those Other Girls name attached to it. We are identifying ourselves as Christian conservatives. So there are things that Christians do and participate in. There are things that Christians don't do and participate in that are just common knowledge. And that's how you're going to see things with Those Other Girls. So you won't see anything like that. What you could see someone who did participate and it has repented and has been changed by God. And I love hearing those stories. Those are beautiful. I would love to feature somewhere like that on an episode or something. Ooh, that would be a good episode. But one thing you won't see is someone unapologetically unrepentant for something like that. That is not okay. I'm not trying to bash her. If I'm bashing anything, I'm bashing the profession. So that's that on that. I'm going to end this. The live is still going to go, but I'm in this recording because I think I'm going to make this a separate video than the rest of the episode. So let's do that.